What's up, gamers? Matt with That's Fair Podcasting and Gaming Geeks Live. And in this video, I'm going to ask you Gen X and probably older millennials. I did a video not so long ago about an 80s reminiscent video of the ninja craze of the 80s called Ninja Mania. And in this video, I'm going to ask you another 80s question about 80s toy line G.I. Joe. If you're a fan like me, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, and you'll probably be as equally as entertained as I was back when I was a kid with G.I. Joe. So stay tuned. You know, in the late 70s and early 80s, it was Kenner toy line that had the market cornered with all the Star Wars toys. And that was badass because I'm a massive Warsy. But then along came Hasbro in the 80s and launched G.I. Joe, and probably my all-time favorite toy line ever. Anyway, if you are new here, again, this is Matt with That's Fair Podcasting, Gaming Geeks Live. And if you don't mind taking the time, please subscribe to both those channels that you see down there. It really means the world to us. If not, like the video to help us get more clicks, more views. It's really helping when you like the video. And if you don't do any of those things, it doesn't matter. If you just watch the video, it really means the world to me. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to talk and reminisce like I did with my Ninja video. It's a reminiscent video for you Gen X and older millennials. And it's about the toy line G.I. Joe. And I was kind of late to the party. My cousin Sebastian kind of introduced it to me in like 1984. And I believe it was like, I was already heavy into the ninja craze. Because the ninja craze of the 80s, man, Sho Kosugi and Canon Films with Golan and Globus, man, they launched the ninja craze or Ninja Mania into a massive frenzy of just pure badassery. And I wanted to be a ninja when I was a kid. In fact, in many ways, up here, I was already a ninja. But anyway, the ninjas that were launched in G.I. Joe kind of what helped throw me into getting into G.I. Joe and ultimately experiencing all the characters that G.I. Joe had to offer. In fact, the very first Joe I ever bought was Duke. I think he had like a beige shirt, button shirt, and he had the green pants and green boots. And you know, that was just the first one I ever bought. And my cousin Sebastian had talked me into it. At that time, we were kind of playing a toy line called Mask. I think the main guy was Matt Tracker. And we were playing Mask, and then I think we were kind of at the tail end in 84 of Kenner with the Star Wars toys, because Return of the Jedi came out in 83, and it was kind of the slow effect of, you know, reeling from Return of the Jedi after about a year, still playing with the Star Wars toys and stuff. But, you know, he introduced me into G.I. Joe, and I remember it was Christmas of 84, in fact. And that was the year I got a ghetto blaster because, you know, I was dual cassette, you know, because I was ready to, you know, I was always recording the top 40 with Casey Kasem. And but anyway, I wanted a ghetto blaster, but he's like, no, dude, you should have got some G.I. Joes, man. You missed out. And then a year later, I did get a bunch of G.I. Joe shit for Christmas. But my first ever G.I. Joe was Duke. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to play this guy, just your standard military guy. You know, I didn't really understand it. And I noticed a file card on the back, and, you know, and then I'm like getting into it. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden he gets, like, for Christmas of 84, you know, he wants me to help him open it. His mom got him all this G.I. Joe shit. Like, I think he got Wild Bill with the helicopter, and I don't remember the helicopter, but, and then he got like, I think he got Stalker, and he got, I think Gung Ho, and then Roadblock, and then he got like a bunch of others, but these are the Joes that I remembered. And then all of a sudden I'm opening up Storm Shadow. I'm like, wait a minute, because I'm already heavy into ninjas here. And I'm opening up Storm Shadow. I'm reading the file card, and, like, you know, like you see the picture of him. He's got the two swords. He's got the katana and the wakizashi, and he's holding them up and he's crossing them. And I'm like, damn, man, G.I. Joe's bringing in ninjas? Are you kidding me? And at that time, you have the older Snake Eyes, more of a black outfit with like these weird goggles. And it was a year later when I really started getting into it. And then I got the G.I. Joe hovercraft. He got the hydrofoil. And I remember all of a sudden I'm getting heavy into G.I. Joe. And then they launched a new series of them, and I saw the new Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is my favorite Joe of all time, by the way. Of all time. Ninja. I mean, but he's a badass. And this version of Snake Eyes was launched with Timber, the wolf. And like if you remember some of these guys, he had code name Mutt and his dog Junkyard. He had Alpine, Dusty, Footloose. I mean, and then he got Flint, and then Lady J. And then, all of a sudden, I'm like, and I'm collecting all these, and then you get the Cobra side of it. I've got Zartan, and I'm getting Firefly, obviously Storm Shadow, Destro, Major Blood, and obviously Cobra Commander. Who doesn't, you can't have the Joes without the leader, Cobra Commander. But then, I mean, it's just taken off, man. The G.I. Joe's just taken off, and I remember one of my favorite guys, Silent Weapons, codename Quick Kick. Edo MacArthur, I think was his real name. But I'm like, because I was into I'm heavy into martial arts even to this day. But like, I was so into martial arts and ninjutsu and Shaolin monks and everything. It was spilling over into my Dungeons and Dragons game. But I got Quick Kick, and all of a sudden I got Storm Shadow, and I've got Snake Eyes. So all these martial arts are being incorporated, and you got ninjas, and I'm like, damn. Yeah, and again, it was the ninjas of it, Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes, that really helped launch me into G.I. Joe. And then you start falling in love with these characters. You got the file cards, like I said, you had Gung Ho, you had Roadblock. I already talked about all these, Dusty, Footloose, and like there's so many more I'm leaving out. And I just, again, I already mentioned Stalker and Alpine and stuff like that, but like, you just had so many, and I'm leaving out so many, I'm so sorry. But I just remember being so immersed in the world of G.I. Joe. Like I got the Cobra Stinger, which was a Cobra Jeep, and you had the driver, and you just, and then you had the you remember the Crimson Twins, Zaymot and Tomax or something like that. I don't quote me on those names, I could be wrong, but anyway, ultimately it spilled over into a cartoon. And I remember I rode the bus. I was 13 or 14 when I had like a 7-minute window, and dude, I'm not lying, my bus stop was like a half mile by the time we got home if the bus wasn't running late. And I had about a 7-minute window to sprint my ass up the hills. It was called Cedar Hills in Oklahoma. And I'm sprinting up these hills as fast as I can, so I VCR'd. I didn't know how to set a timer, but I get the VCR to set up because I recorded my G.I. Joe cartoons as I watched. And one of my favorite episodes is when Cobra Commander sent Storm Shadow out to kidnap Quick Kick, and like they were taking all these Joe members' families hostage and stuff like that. It was just, I just remember racing top speed to record those cartoons. And G.I. Joe is a huge influence, in the toy world. And I mean, to this day, I have a box of them somewhere. I couldn't even begin to imagine where I put them. But it even spilled over into comic books. And I remember having a comic book called Silent Interlude. If you're a Ninja fan and you're a huge G.I. Joe fan, you remember that comic. Destro captures Scarlet, like Snake Eyes' woman, and they have him in this fortress, her in this fortress. No words are spoken in this book, no words at all. It's called Silent Interlude. The whole thing is just actions. No words, no one says a word. It literally, you know how you had the print and you had the circle in white, and like, no words were spoken. And Destro and Storm Shadow sent all these red ninjas to stop Snake Eyes because he parachutes in to rescue Scarlet. And he parachutes in and he's fighting all these red ninjas, and then he has this little showdown. It's a small showdown, but he has a little showdown with Storm Shadow, and Storm Shadow's arching his katana back and he goes to throw it. And he's trying to take out Scarlet with it, and Snake Eyes is behind her, and he reaches over Scarlet, grabs the katana, catches it, and flips it over her head, and then takes her on this little propulsion thing, and they escape. But you see Storm Shadow watching Snake Eyes, and that's when you saw, I think for the first time, that, like, I think it's called Arashaki tattoos, the red ninja tattoos of the clan they were both in. And anyway, that's pretty much my rant. But I was a huge G.I. Joe fan. I reflect on that a lot. It's a huge part of the 80s, man, just like the Ninja Mania was to me. And every once in a while, I gotta do these reminiscent 80s videos to a lot of us Gen X and millennials that remember. Because, man, that was the good stuff, man. That was the good shit. And G.I. Joe forever, man. He'll fight for freedom wherever there's trouble. G.I. Joe is there. G.I. Joe. Anyway, sorry. It's just a little reminiscent. I'm having a little bit too much fun with it. But anyway, guys, that's really all I had. I just wanted to reminisce about G.I. Joe and a great toy line and just a great time being a kid. And anyway, that's all I had. And I want to thank you for joining us. Again, if you don't mind subscribing to That's Fair Podcasting or to Gaming Geeks Live, whichever channel you're watching this on, please give us a like, click us out into that algorithm. It helps us out. And if you don't do that and you just watch the video, again, sincerely appreciate it. It means the world to me, guys. And I hope you guys understand that. Anyway, as I always say to you gamers, all love, and I'm outro.